right, the second game, 6 o'clock Pacific, also on ESPN. The rematch, West Virginia, Kansas. Kansas 4.5, 158.5 the total. They met January 24th in Morgantown. Kansas came into that game ranked number 2. It was 85-69. Mountaineers won, and they won the boards. They shot almost 50% from the field, but Kansas led by 1 with 10 minutes left. Then a 27-10 run for West Virginia, Teddy.
Yeah, and usually when the Mountaineers pull off a big win at home against a good team, the knee-jerk reaction, you're always like, give credit to the pressing defense, all about the defense. Nuh-uh. When West Virginia blew out Kansas down the stretch of that first meeting, it was rebounding, 38-28, plus 10 on the glass, and offense, 22 assists versus only 8 turnovers. Issa Ahmad has scored 27, as you mentioned, West Virginia just shy of 50% from the floor. Now, Kansas did lead with 10 minutes left before that West Virginia closeout, but we saw the good and the bad of the Kansas offense in that game. It really was. Frank Mason, Devontae Graham, they have about as much experience versus those West Virginia presses as any guard combo in the country. But Kansas, 16 assists versus 13 turnovers, reasonable ratio, 13-29 triples, good ratio, and yet they still lost that game by 16. That's concerning. And it was the same story last year. West Virginia won by 11 at home. Kansas won by 10 in the rematch, and then again by 10 in the conference tournament.
Yep, maybe fatigue an issue here too. West Virginia had 11 players go at least 8 minutes on Saturday. Their starters only played 118 of 200 minutes. Huggins on the short turnaround. I'd like to go short, practice hard, but then you can't cover everything you need to cover. We'll try to get them watching more film. Kansas starters played 163 of 200 at Texas Tech. Mason fouled out in that one. Only 7 players saw action. What do you think of what both teams are looking at in that as far as fatigue, Teddy?
Well, I'm concerned about the Kansas side of the equation. This is something we always like to look at come February. West Virginia with that 11-man rotation, or 10 or 11, depending on the game. Starters only played, as you mentioned, 118 minutes on Saturday. For Kansas, you look at their last 5 games. All 5 of them, tough grinders. They went down to the final possession versus quality competition at Texas Tech, Kansas State, Kentucky, home versus Iowa State, and Baylor. I mean, every one of those games, tight grinder. I worry about fatigue, especially when you start to look at some of the minutes, because you look at the last 5 games at a possible 205 minutes. Frank Mason played a bunch. Devontae Graham played a bunch. Josh Jackson played a bunch. Bill, it's a situation where Bill Self is going to be up against it a little bit when it comes to his rotation down the stretch. That worries me about the Jayhawks tonight in this quote-unquote revenge situation where they not only have to win, they got to win by margin.
Hey guys, for the full video, go to sbrpicks.com.
Go to sbrodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.